What's up, guys? Welcome to conversation number 8. We are here with SpattsCards, Spat for short.
Hello.
Oh God, I started coming through my headphones. Scared me. So conversation number 8. I'm here with Spat. Spat, if you want to just right off the rip, tell people where they can find you, support you, anything like that. I know you're not really outward at all on the internet in terms of YouTube or anything like that. You're not a content creator. You're more of a silent producer. You go to all these cons, you just buy stuff and flip, and you keep to yourself. But we're dragging you out into the open today. So if there is anywhere that you would like people to contact you, if they have something to sell or if they just want to support you, let them know.
Yeah, I don't really have anywhere. Yeah, I have an Instagram, which is just SpattsCards, but I don't use it too often. Yeah, not really big on the social media stuff. I just lurk on YouTube and stuff, and finally kind of came out of my shell with commenting and stuff, and kind of worked my way into little niche group. So yeah, not really anywhere to specify.
I noticed. I think Dan has you beat by a few months, but I think you're one of my oldest members on my channel. I think you're like 15 months or something like that, and Dan is 18 months. You guys both renewed during the same live, and I was like, I wonder if Spat's got to be one of my oldest members at this point.
I wish I had done it like initially, like right when I had first started really following everybody, started being members of everybody, just to like kind of track it all. But yeah, it would be nice if I was it'd be pretty neat if I was the first one. That would be pretty sweet. But
yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah, you've been around. You've been around a while. You don't really do content or anything outward facing, but yeah, we met Chicago, I think last year. Was that the first time that we met? We vended next to each other.
Yep.
And that was a lot of fun. And then ever since then, you just kind of became a part of the group that goes out and vends. But you do it in a way that I tried 2 weeks ago, and I probably would choose not to do it again. But yeah, you're kind of a madman. So if you want to explain to the people what you've done in the past with going to different conventions for sourcing, you're just in and out.
Yeah. I pretty much I'll go to pretty much any and every Collecticon that I can. For the past like year and a half, just to source. As long as the flight makes sense. If it's less than $300 round trip, I'm pretty much gonna go. If I don't have anything to do, I have a job, I have a girlfriend, I have family, but I don't have kids, so like I don't have pets, so I don't really have like set obligations that like holds me back from just flying anywhere I want if I need to or want to. So it's super easy for me to just kind of on a whim 2 weeks before the Collecticon to just buy a flight and go. So if it makes sense, I go, and I've gone to pretty much every single one for the past year or so, give or take a couple that I've missed. Yeah, just go source. It's a fun time. It's a quick day. To beat your beat afterwards. You know, you experienced it last weekend. It's your shoulders can hurt, but it's fun. So
yeah. So what we did last weekend or 2 weekends ago at Miami is we flew in the morning. We met up at the airport around 9 a.m. Went straight over to Collecticon, sourced at Collecticon till about 5 p.m. ish. We're at the convention all day, walking around all the tables, and then we turned around, went back to the airport, and we flew home that night.
Yep.
And yeah, like you said, absolutely. It would have been a lot better had my flight on the way home not been delayed 3 hours.
Yeah, that sucks.
That would have been a lot better because then I would have gotten home right around my bedtime instead of at like 1:30 in the morning. So that would have been a little bit better. But yeah, the whole backpack on your back the whole time, that's rough. And I feel like I found a solution to that now. We're going to try it out this weekend at Chicago. I'm very excited to check that out. But I did record a good video while we were out there. So hopefully once I get those cards back from CGC, that'll be a fun it'll be a fun video. But
yeah, I'm very excited to see the results of that.
when like, let's take Florida for instance. When you're flying in to Florida, do you go and source with a plan? Do you have an idea when you're flying in, like, these are the cards roughly that I'm looking for, these are the Pokemon that I'm looking for, these are the sets that I want to buy from? Do you have an idea like that when you go in, or is it just you just go, and if you find something cool, you pick it up?
Yeah, no, I've not a single time have I gone expecting or looking for a specific card. Sometimes I'll come home with $103 cards, or my most expensive card that I picked up is $15. And sometimes I'll come home with a couple $1,000 cards. Like, it's just, if I see a card that's clean, um, I'm lucky enough. Like, I can pick up pretty much anything that's not like absolutely absurd. So you saw at the end of the last con, I pick up I'm not even looking, but you pick up a Sylveon EX from Prismatic like last second. Like, it just kind of, it falls in your lap, and you just kind of go with the flow. If it's clean,
Yeah.
you buy it. That's pretty much the game that I've played. Is if something rolls in front of me and it's clean, I don't really care what it is. I like all cards. I'm not looking for specific cards. I kind of like it like that because, like, the way that I kind of work online is I do kind of look for specific cards. So it kind of adds a little bit of variety to like the grading returns and the cards you get to actually see when you're picking up multiples of the same card online. It's like you're
Yeah.
just opening up another package and you're expecting to see the same card. Kind of adds a nice little variety, and the subs look different, so it's fun. I honestly would prefer looking for cards that I don't usually see, but I pick everything up.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was really funny when we were hitting that last table and you saw that Sylveon. The whole time you guys are having the conversation, he kept saying 475. And I was like, I kept thinking, oh, okay, so the price is 75, because I don't know anything about English prices. I know that obviously prismatic cards are expensive, but 75 to me is a pretty expensive card
mhm.
from a brand new set. So he was like, oh, yeah, we'll do 475. And I was like, oh, okay, $75. And then it was like, no, it's like $500.
Yeah.
I was like, Jesus. I was not ready for that. But then I saw an Instagram or a video today of the raw price of the Umbreon right now, and it's like insane.
Yeah, it's
So
like
it's like, yeah,
15,
I guess,
$1,600, I think,
yeah, it's
still.
crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I should have known, but I don't look at English stuff
It-
at all, so I had no
yeah.
freaking clue.
Yeah. Yeah. I try my best to stick like to the market, especially for like those collecticons. I'll kind of like go through eBay, kind of look through a couple of different cards I wouldn't actually look for, like especially the modern English stuff.
Mm,
Because I do kind of tend to lean towards Japanese myself. So when I go to the cons, I kind of lean towards English. So I guess I do look for specific stuff. I kind of go away from Japanese, but in terms of cards, I don't really go for specific cards. But I do try and keep up with the market values of stuff because when I'm home, it's a lot of Japanese. When I'm out at the cons or at local shows, it's more English, and you got to keep up with the market, especially now because you know that Sylveon could have been 450 2 weeks ago, and this upcoming weekend in Chicago it could be 600, and I'm out here thinking like everybody's insane, but like no, there's 35 sales of 600 in the last
yeah,
4 days. That's market price. I mean, that's just the way that the market is now. So you kind of have to keep up with it.
yeah, yeah. I do like sourcing English at shows because I feel like, and tell me you might feel this way as well, but as a person who primarily does Japanese, I feel like I have a comparative advantage on a lot of other people in Japanese stuff because I know how to navigate the different websites and purchase, and I have like the way that I go about sourcing, good condition singles that are hopefully gradable from every era. I'm sure you figured out a lot of that stuff for yourself as well. But when it comes to English, it's like sourcing English to me is just like, I guess I got to do it on eBay if I want pictures of anything. Because if you do it on
Hmm.
TCG Player, you're taking a risk because you really don't know because you don't see any photos. But if you're in person, you see the centering, you get to condition check it, spot check it before you buy it. And a lot of times, what is sought after in Japanese, the English equivalent is sought after as well. for the most part, except for maybe some trainers, like some trainers that are higher end in Japanese. But, the same Pokemon are popular for the most part in English and Japanese. So you can kind of transfer some knowledge, but I do feel like the sourcing part of it is scary for someone that only does Japanese to try and source English online. It's
yeah. It's definitely not as easy to do it in bulk. If I guess your risk tolerance has to be a little bit higher. Like you said, TCG player, like near mint TCG players, not. It's a very wide range. Like I personally don't do that stuff. I've done it a couple of times for like cheap cards, like celebrations cards, like stuff that's like generally very clean. Like you feel good about that, but anything that's come out in the last 3 years since like late Sword and Shield, you can't. I think you'd be foolish to do it because it's all going to be off center.
And Scarlet and Violet stuff that's been super hit or miss in terms of condition.
Yeah, can't do it. You gotta have eBay. Gotta look at photos, and even then, I wasn't really tracking it for a little bit there. I did like a month where I was kind of like gauging my purchases on eBay and seeing how much I was actually grading. I didn't like have an Excel file where I was tracking every single purchase, but I was like at a 50-50, like looking at photos and deciding whether or not it was gradable when I purchased it on my phone, and then when it comes in, having it actually be gradable. It was like 50-50. So if you get a good eye, like you can get pretty solid. And the nice thing about English is I think it's easier to dump, for example, at a show.
Oh, I can imagine,
with just like a TCG list. So if you bought it on eBay, maybe you got it for $5 under TCG market, selling it at 90% or trading it at 85%, if it's $100 card, like you already bought it a little bit under market. So dumping it for 85-90%, it's like you're losing a couple bucks, $5.
Yeah.
On a grading miss, it's not the worst.
Especially locally where I'm at, like nobody likes the Japanese stuff. Like I'll set up and 99% of my stuff is Japanese, and they'll walk up to the booth and be like, "Is it all Japanese?" I'll be like, "Yeah," and then they'll just walk away. Yeah. And I'll even take, like, I had some super high end cards. Like I had a couple Bubble Mews, a couple Mews from 151, a bunch of different Charizards, and a Shining Mew and stuff like that. And I took it to a table that said that they were buying, and they offered me like 50% market or something like that. And their excuse was, "Oh, well, it's going to take us a while to sell." And it's like, it's Charizards, it's Bubble Mews, it's all this. And, because it's Japanese, apparently it's so hard to move. It's like, come on. No, it isn't. Like those cards, I mean, maybe at a local show, they're harder to move, but definitely not online.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. I think people are stuck in their ways, like how they sell. Maybe they kind of use their own little biases and decide that it's not for them, and they kind of use that as an excuse. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because you've sold at shows where you sell like just as much as a table next to you where they're selling English. It's like clearly this stuff is selling just as much if you have the right stuff. I mean, you're not bringing the guy, like trying to find a card that like I probably shouldn't have bought, but like a
random mid-era,
a Japanese Hoopa card, like okay, there might not be the biggest market for Japanese Hoopa collectors, but if you're bringing them Charizards, like you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah. All right, let's run through here quick and see who's here. We got iFOMO coming in early. We got Hoodoo telling us we're late. What's going on, guys? Crimson Collectibles, we're going to come back to this because I think we've got some interesting things to say, especially if you're new on eBay.
I love that.
About the fees. I think very differently than you do about the fees on eBay. So
kind of has to do with my hot take. Actually has a lot to do with my hot take.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Swami, how's it going, Swami? Welcome.
Hello.
Drew, son of a Merc, FN Viking, and thank you very much, Hoodoo, for the $2 super chat.
We're rich.
20% for Japanese. Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Hoopa has an insane promo. Is it the Chibi one? The Chibi, I'm assuming.
I like Hoopa.
I like Hoopa too.
I'm a big fan of Hoopa.
But yeah, let's go back up to this question from Crimson. Bro, I had my first eBay. I mean, I guess it's not a question, but it's a good topic to bring up because I think a lot of people who sell their first stuff on eBay, and a lot of people complain about the fees on eBay. I had my first sale on eBay, and holy moly, 13% fees. Nah, that's crazy. Now I understand why eBay prices are so high. So I'll jump in and say, I think 13.5% is completely justified on eBay. And I think the reason for that is in my day job, before my current job, the job that I had before this one, I built consumer online websites for stores. And a lot of them did not do well, most of them, because the idea was that they thought, well, you just put a website up. You don't have to take the Amazon fees or the eBay fees, and you just sell stuff. And that's not how it works, because the major part of having your own website and trying to dodge those fees is most of the people that are successful with their own websites are buying ad space on different, search engines or different other websites to drive people to their site. So you're paying more money to advertise to your site. Now, that might be like a short-lived thing because maybe you get a whole bunch of customers and then you can just grow from there. You don't have to pay for ad space so much, but there are other fees that you're going to incur to try and drive people to your own site, trying to dodge those fees, first of all. So it's not as easy as some people say, like, oh, just build your own Shopify account, just blah, 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 because it's so much easier. It's not. Second of all, eBay, there's a lot of services that eBay does for you that completely justify, in my opinion, 13.5%. One is they have a massive customer base that's already built into the website that they're constantly showing your listings to, especially if you put in a small promoted amount on your listing. You're seeing a ton of traffic and stuff on your listings that you would not get otherwise. Even if you're trying on Instagram or your own website, you're not going to see as much impressions as you get on eBay on your stuff. Second of all, they take care of all the international issues. So a lot of stuff, like I sell Japanese, a lot of my stuff goes to international buyers, especially the high-end stuff, because people from China and people from other countries buy a lot of high-end Japanese. If that wasn't there, I would have to figure out how to do all that myself. And I don't want to do that. They also take on all of the potential problems of an international sale. So before, there were countries that people would just flat out ban because if someone bought items from you, it was most likely going to be some sort of scam. You don't have to worry about that anymore because once you ship it to eBay, they take care of everything after that. So you don't have to worry about any of that. What else? I mean, there's literally there's probably 10 more things that I haven't brought up. Tax stuff.
They take care of all of that. That's huge. I mean,
yeah, they collect sales tax.
Huge that is.
Yeah, they do so much for you that yes, 13% sucks but yeah, I feel like I've talked too much. You just have to build in the 13% into your buy price. If you don't do that, then yeah, you're going to get hurt. But you have to just prepare for the fact that they're going to take what you go. So, I could just keep going. You go.
Just stemming off of what you just said, like you have to factor that into your price. Where are you selling for 100% of market? Where? Like, I need to know where you're selling for 100% of market, where you didn't at least use your time or spend money to set up at a show and vend. If you really do the math, I'm not going to do the math, but if you do the math on a whole Collecticon weekend, right? I'm not even vending this weekend, and my trip's $1,000 already.
Yeah.
Before food, before anything we go do this weekend, like anything. So I'm at $1,000.
Yeah, and as people who have vended, you know that the very few amount of times that you're going to sell something for your sticker price, most of the time,
right,
you're going to take 90%, you're going to take 85%, you're going to take something less because there's a negotiation happening. Sometimes people just walk up and be like, I want to buy that. Here's the money. But a lot of times it's, can you do 90 instead of 100? Can you do 65 instead of, or 70? Can you do, and you're going to come down a percentage anyway. So
right.
at the end of
So
the day, yeah.
like even at $1,000, say I don't spend a single dollar, right? And I'm setting up to vend, call it $1,500 after buying the table, cases. That's pretty much bare minimum. For at least for what I had to spend to get to Chicago this upcoming weekend. Um, just at 10%, not 13%. Let's just round it down to 10% fees on eBay. Even though that's not true, you would have to sell $15,000 worth of product to have broken even just on the fees, just on your cost, because that's what the fees effectively are, is your cost to have that opportunity to even sell. When you list on eBay, like, it's there. The buyer pool is hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands times what you're going to see at that con.
Yeah.
So the liquidity, if you have the right stuff, like, I mean, it is absolutely insane. And again, like, if you just do a private sale on Facebook, like, okay, but like, I don't know about you, but I value my time too much I'd rather sell a card on eBay for $100 than spend 30 minutes of my time and sell it for $100 cash
Yeah.
locally at a Wawa or a grocery store or a police station.
Yeah.
Because I value my 30 minutes of that's effectively valuing my time at like $26 an hour.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
my personal time is worth way more than me than that.
Yeah. It always
So,
sucks to see a part of your hard work go to someone who's not you or the person buying from you, but at the same time, like, they are providing a service to you. There's
it's an
so much
insane
that's
service.
provided uh, by eBay. A lot of times, honestly, I even build in a little cushion. So my recommendation would be set up a little profit calculator that calculates the how much you're buying in for. I do 20% to potentially have some wiggle room with promoted listing stuff. So
Hmm.
I'll do 20% instead of 13.5% of eBay fees. Figure out what your total cost is. Find the closest comp. Figure out what the percentage of that would be, and then subtract them and figure out what your profit percentage is. And you can even build it with 20% baked in instead of 13.5 to make sure that you have a little extra cushion. But build something like that out. There's a lot of opportunities that are still going to give you 40 to 60%, ROI percentages, even with that 20% built in. And you just got to navigate it that way so that it's not eating into your profits all that much.
Yeah. And if you can't profit off of, if your profit margin is actually like 13% on the card, then it's not a card that you should have been buying. That's just the unfortunate case. You're not going to make money on everything, but
Yeah.
the service that eBay gives, I mean, especially now, like with tax season going on, I just finished my taxes this past weekend. Um, eBay makes it so easy, like,
Yeah.
just ridiculously easy.
Yeah.
So just leaving it there. Like, if you sell everything on eBay, your taxes should take you an hour
And
max.
there are some ways, I'm sure, to make 100%. Like, if you have a large following on Instagram and you do claim sales or whatever, you might be able to get 100% because there's just enough people there who are fans of you or whatever who want to buy that card from you no matter what and are willing to take 100%. But that's like the
Yeah, that's the exception that
yeah, major
you
exception.
spent a lot of time, a lot of probably money building up your following. Like, you could probably, if you really set your mind to it, you could figure out something like that where you built a website, and I'm sure you could do pretty well doing that if you wanted to spend the next 6 months building it and pushing it and maybe spending money on advertising and all this other stuff. Like, you can get across or get away from those eBay fees if you really wanted to, but is it worth it?
It's going to cost a
After
lot of time and money. Yeah.
it's going to cost a lot of time and a decent bit of money, and at the end of the day, you're doing that for, you know, 7%, 8% after you pay the 3% fees on your website and dealing with anything, then you got to deal with all the sales tax. You got to deal with all the other tax stuff. You got to deal with angry buyers.
Just go watch Pokiani's video on Nexus with taxes. Just go watch that and you'll figure out exactly why eBay is awesome.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I'm saying without I've already been told I seem like I'm Mr. IRS, so I'm gonna stay away from that because I don't know. But yeah, Mr. Hive Mind is saying that we're bringing down the hobby with our new documentary. I think we could. We won't, but we could.
Ooh, a documentary. We're gonna have to hear about this. About to get out of work. What's up, Chef? Wait till you start promoted listings. Yeah, promoted listings. Question, because you also sell on eBay. Mm-hmm. What do you typically do for promoted? Because I basically just do a little bit more than the minimum. I usually don't do much more than like 2.5%, 3%.
So I've been kind of just lazy, like not having the time to want to ship again. Like that's valuing time. Just been lazy. But when I am running my eBay business the way I want to, I do 2% across the board. But then sometimes I'll have multiple listings of like if I have multiple of the cards, so say I have 10 copies of this raw card, I'll list 5 2% promoted listing at like close to low list, and then I'll go to, so when you search up a card and you do best match and you go to the top, it's almost always going to be a sponsored ad or a sponsored listing. I'll do like 5 to 10% and then list it like 10-20 cents below that. And I've seen a lot of success with that because a lot of the times if you do the math, 10%, so effectively paying 23% to eBay, when you're that first listing and you're getting eyes on that, you're netting more than 23%, or you're netting more than that extra 10%. Effectively, you're paying for that promoted listing. Sometimes you're netting an extra 30%. Like, it's just the nature of the game. It's pay to play. And it does work.
That is interesting. I feel like when the whole promoted thing first came out or became popular and people started using it to sell, a lot of people were messing with it, and they'd be like, oh, well, I increased my price 10%, but I put a 10% promoted on there to sell it faster. And that seemed to work for a while. And then some other things seemed to work for a while. And it's kind of been back and forth, I feel like, with how people have optimized the promoted side of things. That sounds really interesting, though, is kind of pricing below the first promoted listing and then putting a fairly high amount. I guess calculating between like what's the lowest listed promoted and then what's the lowest listed, and then calculating your promoted based on that.
So like just looking up a random card like in front of me, the AR newly listed, we'll go to lowest price, so I can buy a Japanese Infernape art rare for $5.08 from Japan. Now, if you go to best match, it is $8. Is the first listing. So that 10% promoted listing is taking 80 cents from you, but it's $3 more than the low list.
Interesting.
So you kind of have to play that game, and you can play the game and do really well with it. So I've had success doing that. Again, that's when I'm operating my eBay the way I want to. It's not. I've been too lazy.
I'm definitely going to start using that. That's not something I've ever thought of before. But you just told 24 people.
Yeah, just that little spilled the sauce. But
I mean, that sounds like a great way to try and optimize that promoted section for sure. That's awesome. I'll have to remember that the next time I'm listing and try it out and see how it goes.
And the way you got to think of it is best match is like the base consumer is not sorting to lowest price. They're not sorting to newly listed. It's just best match. So they'll type in Infernape art rare and buy the first one they see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So
If you're selling 100% of market, you're either paying to vend at a show or you have a brick and mortar with massive overhead. Yep. Ernie, this was pretty great. Dodge fees or dodge traffic, take your pick. Yeah, that's how I look at it. Very true. Let's see. Grimer would pay more than 13% on eBay. Stop it. Get some help.
Well, I mean, I guess
let's not make it any worse than it needs to be. Yeah, technically with the promoted.
I've always paid 15% because everything's got a flat 2% on it, no matter what it is. But I never really price low list. I'm usually like in a 2% variance to try and counteract that promotion.
Yeah.
Just like as a mental thing.
I've seen some people think it's crazy to leave best offer on listings nowadays. I like to leave it on because there is, personally, I will do a best offer that's somewhere around like 10% less of what it's listed at. And then I have like an auto accept thing. So, and then I just basically ignore everyone that emails me that's like, what's your lowest? I just ignore all that. And it tends to work pretty well. I sell like an insane, I think the last time I looked at it was like 40 some percent of my sales were from best offer listings or from best offers. So it seems to work fairly well for me, but some people are just like, absolutely not. Like, why would you ever leave that on? That doesn't make any sense. Just price it well and it'll sell X, Y, and Z. Do you do best offers? Or are you one of those like absolutely not?
So I used to be all about best offers until I just kind of got, again, a little lazy. If I was really looking to move cards, I would put best offer on for sure. I think another reason why I stopped doing it was it took longer to list because I had to click a couple more buttons and I'm like, okay, if I'm like I gotta list 100 cards here, like okay, that's an extra 5 seconds. I gotta click okay, accept best offer, minimum accepted purchase. Like it just kind of added more time, so I kind of just got away from it. But if I did best offer, and if say I did like across the board best offer, I would always make sure that I'm not low list, because then you can find yourself in a spot where it's like, ooh, I haven't sold a card in 2 days. Maybe I should take this. But then you break it down. It's like, okay, well, if I'm low list and this card, like it will sell. It's just I haven't gotten lucky with somebody buying it. After eBay fees, your flat 2% promotion, if I'm calling it at 2%, and then you accepted 10% off. It's like, I just got 30% or 70% of market. I could have just hit up Dan or hit up Nick or hit up Alex or hit up pretty much anybody at a con and dumped hundreds of slabs for that. Like you kind of have to do the math, and I'm big on numbers and math and stuff like that, for it to make sense. So best offers is kind of you kind of throw yourself into a situation where you may take less. It just depends on the card.
Yeah.
Depends.
Grimer says that's cheat code if you sell low end. I used to do similar when I sold cards sub $10 on eBay. Regular V's with promotion sell for $1 card more than some promotion than low list. With some promotion than low list. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I like that. I'm gonna try it next time for sure.
Yeah, we might be competing a little bit if I get back on eBay.
Maybe
we'll be driving the price down.
Although I probably won't sell any raw stuff on eBay. I really haven't in the past either.
You got that Fujitsu, right? And you just
I do. It's been sitting here.
You've got the market standard.
I haven't
got
used
one too. I love it. It's awesome.
Honestly, I should post in the Discord in the in search of buyer for Fujitsu.
Oh, if you hit me up,
just don't use
like a day, there's got to be somebody in there that buy it in a day. I'm telling
you. Yeah. If you did consignment, what would your fees look like? Or I guess, what is your time worth? If you did consignment, like consignment selling on eBay? I don't even know. I've never even thought about doing consignment, to be honest.
It's got all the questions right now. I'm reading them. Like, dude, he's got some great
Keep
questions.
them coming, man.
Yeah, he's got some great questions.
Consignment. I have no idea.
I wouldn't ever do it. But if I had to like put a number on it, it wouldn't ever make sense. It just wouldn't ever make sense. Like I have to believe that James at some point was operating at I don't know, at some sort of loss. I don't know what his rates were like in the
Yeah.
super beginning, because like was he working on a 2% margin, where like is he listing like
Well, because if you think about it, it's like if you sell someone's card for $100, let's say 15% of that is fees.
mm-hmm.
So what would it have? What would it be worth to you? Like if you sold that, packed it up, and shipped it, and let's say you do a 75% payout, so you make 10% profit on $100 card. Is that even worth it for $10?
I mean, if you told me that I could get 10%, like that was gonna be my average like payout to me, that's what I'm paying myself, I might be more on board, but I don't think that's the case. Especially not with starting out, because you got to build that brand. Like at this point, if Z is operating at a 3% profit margin, he's absolutely killing it, because he's doing $1 million weeks. So it's like you just
But
run
yeah,
those numbers really quickly, like he's making a lot of money. Like,
yeah, because he
but
does
three
have.
percent,
I know that he has some overhead because he has an office, and then he
right?
also has multiple employees. So, but yeah, I mean, he's doing very well for himself, even at a lower margin and
Yeah,
with a lot less risk. Because if he's insured, which I'm assuming he is, then all you're doing is selling other. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like he's not putting in any work. Obviously, the
oh
dude is like
dude,
killing it, but you are selling other people's cards and making money off of that. So there, you're not like risking your own inventory or putting up. You don't have to worry about what things sell at, because at the end of the day, you're just taking a percentage off the top, right? So there's a little. I feel like there's a little bit of like the less of the selling stress potentially, but you also want to make sure that your consigners are happy and that you're doing everything you can for them and they're getting max dollar and X, Y, and Z. So yeah,
yeah,
I mean, I don't want to presume to say that what CG does is easy, because it absolutely is not.
no,
If
definitely
it
not.
was easy, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I
um,
don't know what I would want to operate at, but I just wouldn't do it. That's too much,
yeah, I wouldn't do
too
it
much
either.
work. I won't sell my own cards, let alone somebody else's. So
Yeah. How many hours do you work a week on Pokemon, do you think?
depends on what you define work. Um,
I would
yeah,
say
I don't know.
looking at stuff on the computer, packing, listing,
So a lot of my stuff,
sourcing, pre-grading.
yeah, that's the thing. I guess probably 15, 10 to 15,
So that would be like 3 hours a day.
maybe 10.
Well, no, that would be less than that. It'd be like 2 hours a day.
Yeah, I'd say about an hour or two a day at minimum is pretty much like I sit down and I really try and figure out what I'm like trying to achieve. Um, yeah, and
Yeah.
I've tried to like outsource a lot of the stuff that I do, or make it so that I can dump things, like I can work for a month and just kind of dump a lot of what I don't want at like break even, or maybe a little 5% profit or a 5% loss. It happens, like,
Yeah.
rather than doing a lot of the work myself, whether that be using Z or using Dan or using any consignment service, and then dumping raw at shows, going to these shows and trading out of stuff and churning through that way. I try and I don't have too much time. I mean I do, but um, getting home from work, some days you're just like, okay, I don't want to go to my second job right now. I'm gonna sit on the couch and watch some TV, or veg out and play
Yeah.
some video games. Like usually, like probably an hour or two a day.
Yeah, I'm probably around the same. I would say it's probably maybe closer to the 20 if you count everything. Well, not right now, because mostly I've just been sitting around waiting for grading companies to get stuff back. So right now I'm not putting as much effort in because I haven't really been buying. I haven't really been selling all that much. My inventory is pretty low on eBay right now because I've been waiting. So right now it's probably on the lower end, but when I get stuff back and I'm actively working on stuff, it's probably closer to 20 hours a week, I would think.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, mine's got to be around 10, maybe a little more if you really started picking like the 15 minutes on. I'm sitting at work and I'm you know.
All the time on Discord.
Yeah, the time on Discord, the time I'm just going through eBay, and I'm sure it does add up, but like if you're talking time when I get home and I'm sitting down and I'm trying to figure out my next move or really working on Pokemon business stuff, it's probably an hour or two a day.
Yeah. Hive mind. No reason to do a promoted listing when I am one of 2 people listing a MetaZoo card. True.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, you got to be smart about the promotions. I've always just been in this spot where it's like just promote everything because I'm listing stuff that's got hundreds of other competitors.
Yeah, I do a lot of that too.
Yeah.
What are you looking to do this year to improve your business, and what is something you have been putting off doing that you feel like you should?
Just being less lazy. That's just straight up like it's not even lazy. I guess it's just there's not enough time in the day to do everything that I want to do and, live a regular life. Um, yeah. I mean, I feel like I could like if I quit my job, which I would never do, which we could talk about that. I would never go full time. If I did, I feel like I can make it into like I could replace my income. Um, but the time is just it restricts a lot of what I would want to improve. I could really drain myself and work 100 hours a week and probably double my income. But I just keep going back to how much I value my time and what I want
Yeah.
to do and doing things like I have a million different hobbies that I want to do in a day and I have to kind of decide what I want to do and um yeah, not enough time in a day.
Do you have a specific example of something that you've been putting off doing, but you feel like you should do? Does something
Yeah,
come to mind?
listing talking to Sky today in the Discord. Why am I not listing on TCG Player? I'm literally looking at hundreds, thousands of singles that I could list. Um, and I'm just not. I could churn through a lot of this stuff. But I don't. If I did, I'm sure I could turn that into a really sweet part of the business. But again, I don't think I want to package up 150
Yeah.
packages a day. I don't like it's kind of like a give and take there. I could do that and it would probably optimally, increase my sales and increase my margins and stuff. But I'd rather dump everything at a con at a 10% loss than make a 10% profit working for however long it takes to churn through all those cards.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to. What are you looking to do this year to improve? Well, the whole point of this year was supposed to be growth. It was supposed to be not expansion into different things, but just growing the amount that I was doing, spending more out of the account. Famously, I think I said I only used like 20% of my available business money at
Yeah.
any given time. And so the point of this year was to use like 80% of that money and just expand and grow. PSA and the different grading companies have made that difficult though, since I rely on grading to flip and stuff. So the start of the year has been a lot slower than I thought it would be, but who knows where it goes from here? The economy's changing. People might be less excited about Pokemon in the second half of this year, depending on how much they're paying for their normal goods. So we'll see where it goes from here. But yeah, the whole point of this year was supposed to be growth. I don't know how well that's going for me so far, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
I'd say that's also what my goal kind of was and still is, and I think I'm doing okay with that. I've sold more this year already than probably 3/4 of the year last year. So I'm there. It is kind of like a mental block of like, damn, I'm spending a lot of money on these cards and getting out of your comfort zone. Like even if it's like it's not putting me in a bad spot or like you said, you're spending 20% of your business funds. I've been in a similar spot. Like I just kind of have like a risk tolerance there where I'd like to be at. But I could 10x what I've spent and be fine. And it's kind of just jumping over that hurdle of grading more cards. Like I've gotten to a cycle of like, okay, I'm not going to grade more than 100 cards for the past 3 or 4 years. Like up until a year ago, I hadn't sent off a sub more than 100 cards. and I've sent off 10 subs over 250 cards, like at 250 cards. Like it's really just getting over that hurdle and scaling a little bit, kind of doing what you're doing, just multiplying it.
Yeah. And then the second part, what is something you've been putting off doing that you feel like you should? Streaming. I think
Yeah.
The fact that I have an okay size of a YouTube channel, I have somewhat of a following, and I'm not streaming at all, I think is probably a massive
You mean like
dumb thing.
streaming in terms of selling?
Yes, like
Yeah.
Whatnot or
Yeah.
getting into one of the other ones. Obviously, I utilize streaming in my business, helping Chef out and doing the consignment with him, but I still have so much more stuff that I can do myself. So potentially, May, you might find me on Whatnot once a week, because I do think that it is something that I should be doing, especially when the market is hot. It doesn't really make sense for stuff to be sitting around when you have that level of liquidity at your fingertips and you're not utilizing it. So
yeah, everybody that's big in the business says that live selling is where where we're going. So
yeah,
I don't think that's a bad move. I keep stepping back to time.
yeah,
Takes time.
yeah. That's why I'm only going to do it. I want to do it Saturday mornings, just run like 100 auctions, ship on Sunday. That's it. So and just not worry about it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like once you get into a groove, especially on the different platforms that aren't eBay Live, when it comes to the back end stuff and shipping, since you take payments immediately on Whatnot, you can ship everything the next day, and I feel like it would just be better that way. We'll see how it goes. It could completely just bomb and not do well and whatever, but I've got so much stuff sitting around that is just kind of extra at this point. Like you're probably in a similar situation. Like you've probably graded and flipped and you have enough profit that a lot of your misses are just like, the money's tied up in the card, but you're not negative. So it's like, letting it sit is not really that big a deal, but it also kind of sucks to not be able to move it right now.
Yeah, like that stuff sitting is effectively profit. Like it's not that's just gravy on top. Yeah, that's a lot of what my raw stuff turns into. So it's kind of like whenever you see a sale happen or you dump a crap ton at a Collecticon, it's like, okay, this is like free tendies at this point. This is great.
Yeah.
I've already made my money on this play.
Do you do it all alone, or does your significant other or someone else help out your business?
No, my girlfriend will take stuff to the post office if there's like a day where I can't get there, which doesn't typically happen. I brought her to collect cons, and she was holding either my bag of money or bag of cards that I bought, like type of stuff, but not any like tangible, like actual business stuff. So
Okay.
yeah,
My cats help every once in a while.
stress relievers. You
Yeah,
pet
exactly.
them. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah.
Let's see. If you were to partner up with somebody in the hobby, who would it be and why? What would you be able to do that you otherwise couldn't do solo? That's interesting.
That's a great question. I mean, the only thing I could think of to partner up for would be like a streaming team, essentially. Um, just because it seems like the nature of that beast is like being live every day or being live 5 days a week, where I've kind of told myself if I can only stream 1 day a week, it's like, why? What am I trying to build here? Like, am I gonna get that core audience that's gonna be like, oh, Spats Live every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Maybe after a long time. I think it would take a decent bit of time to get that going, but um yeah, it would have to be some sort of stream team where like we all lined up, maybe we got 5 of us or something, and this is all just, a pipe dream or a random theory. Like we each kind of have a day of the week and we decide like this is when we're gonna sell, and all of those sales from that day kind of get siphoned into one PayPal account or whatever, and they all get dispersed to everyone how they should, but it kind of brings the engagement with an account. You'd have to be really comfortable with that person or those four or however many people to do
Yeah.
that. But that I've had that thought multiple times. It would be neat, and that's kind of how a lot of those like Vortex and all of those teams operate. I think they kind of have their one whole conglomerate where their cash is probably all just, they all funded the business with X amount of dollars, and it's the profits all split between 4 or 5, 6 people. But
Yeah.
I can't really think of any other way I'd partner with somebody business wise, like truly business wise.
Yeah, I think the way that Dan does it is really interesting to me. The fact that he is kind of the on the back end, sources everything, has the distribution, and then sends it off to his streamers essentially. Um, that could be fun. I don't know if I want to ever be like the face of a stream team, but I would love. I really like the sourcing side of it. So
Mm-hmm.
if at any point, some of these big stream teams, I don't know if they hire sourcing people who just purely source, but at some point, if one of these super successful teams reached out and was like, "Hey, we think what you do with Japanese cars is really awesome. You got an eye for sourcing X, Y, and Z. Would you, we'll pay you this much full time, whatever." I'd be like, "Hell yeah. I would love to source cars full time and just
Yeah.
have a team of streamers that just stream everything." Um, but yeah, I don't know if I'd ever. Who would I partner with? I'm already partnering with people. I partner with Chef. I think Chef is a great partner because he's just an awesome guy. He's local. He's very trustworthy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's a great like relationship you guys have there. But
Yeah.
that's like I would call that a partnership, but like if I don't know. Like how much different is that than me just selling to a random streamer? Like would you call me dumping non-gradables to Dan a partnership? I get because
Mm,
you guys have more of a like you kind
we
of
have
fund him
more
with
like a
inventory and he like
yeah,
it's definitely a little bit more tangible of like a relationship there.
because it's all
Um,
consignment. So he has all my
right.
inventory at his house, and then he picks through it when he's going to do the next stream, and then he pays
Yeah.
me after the fact. And I source things. I have
Strictly for
done
him.
I
Like,
have done
yeah.
sourcing things strictly for his streams or what I felt like would do well on his streams.
Right.
Um, so we have done things specifically for one another. We go to shows together, source
Yeah.
together, that type of stuff. So it is a little bit more of a partnership than just selling
Hmm.
to one another. But I get what you're saying. I'm trying to. I've
I would go
okay.
ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say I've always thought about doing like a more formal podcast, but I just don't think I have the capacity to put it together the way that I want to. And then, when you're partnering with people to do a podcast, people have to be as into it as you are so that you can get it done every week and people aren't ghosting you or you can be consistent, stuff like that. It's hard to be
Yeah.
consistent with people with different ideas of how things should go. And so all that stuff. I mean, I think a podcast would be cool, but business wise, I can't really think of anything other than the chef partnership that I already have.
Yeah. I mean, I think I could see something like what Benji's doing with his team there with the LGS they opened up, like that if I had somebody in this space like you have Chef, if I had somebody that was like hyper local to me that just kind of worked out like that, it would be pretty neat to open up a shop. But I don't think I'd ever jump in. I'm a very like risk averse like type person. I'm not sure that I would ever do it, but I could potentially be convinced if the right person was to come up and, there was like a good partnership there. It would be fun. It would be a lot of fun, I think, for a year, get a year lease and just kind of say F it, let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
It would be fun. So
I
especially where I'm
almost
at, it would be fun.
I actually thought about this recently, and I feel like it almost makes more sense to rent out an apartment than to try and find like an office space. Like if you were strictly like one streamer, one sourcer, like if Chef and I ever grew to the point where we're like, we need a completely like independent space for our operation, it almost makes more sense to me to rent an extra apartment based on like prices because you're only in for a year or 13 months,
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe $1,200 to $1,500 a month for that space. You get a full kitchen and everything, potentially multiple bedrooms for inventory, stream room, stuff like that. And then you just set it up like that instead of having to try and find like an actual business, like office location, especially if you don't have if you don't need like a front end space to sell things, if you're just like a streaming operation.
Yeah,
I thought
for
about that
sure.
the other day. I was like, that's got to be a cheaper way of doing it than trying to find like a commercial office space. But
Yeah, I think that it would probably vary per location. Like being in Jersey, I mean, you can't find a place to rent anywhere in Jersey that's going to be less than 2K a month for the most part, unless it's going to be like
yeah,
a studio. Maybe a little less depending on where you are, but and I know like in speaking to some of my LGSs around very briefly, like there's some decent deals to be had in like strip mall areas where it's like the cost isn't absurd. The problem is it's all like front facing, like you said, like you need to have that place manned at all times, like if they're open, and then you gotta have security. Whereas if you have like an apartment, like that's all like you don't have security for an apartment more than ring camera and a couple locks on your door.
yeah,
Um,
that's true.
so there's more added costs to, I guess, having like a front-facing, customer-facing situation. But it would be fun to do something like that. It's just I'm not sure that that would ever be a possibility, nor would I ever want to actually do it. It's just a fun idea.
Yeah, Chef said you'd have to figure out noise level when streaming. At least he would. Yeah, he definitely would. That's
Yeah,
true. You'd
I
probably have
think
to noise proof the room that you're in, or
yeah,
make like a noise proof box or something.
that's the nature of that whole entire
Uh,
thing. Like you can't stream and not be energetic,
yeah,
relatively loud. Like it's just kind of it goes hand in hand. So yeah, you would that is a very good call out. You could not have thin walls. Make sure that
yeah,
just go check out the place and maybe let out a couple of yells at 50% and see if you
yeah.
get some
Exactly.
weird complaints or something. Like, hey, I
Yeah,
heard you
exactly.
screaming up there while you're checking out that apartment. What was that?
Huda says positive thing in the hobby, negative thing in the hobby, something you wish there was more of. So that's kind of what I guess we can move straight into like hot takes and what I asked to prepare. This is essentially that. So positive thing that you either experienced or witnessed or you did for somebody recently, hobby related, and then a hot take or potentially a negative thing in the hobby.
Um, in terms of nice stuff, I mean, what was really nice was seeing Radar just give away one of your cards for you, effectively doing something nice for that
That
for
was
that little kid.
hilarious.
Um,
Oh,
backstory, we were sitting down eating
yeah.
lunch and a little kid and his mom came up. She was like, "Oh, do you guys have any rare Pokemon cards?" And we were all like, yeah, no, kinda." And Radar took Java's stack of cards he had just bought
He literally
with the
just grabbed them
intention
out of
of
my hand.
grading, and he
I was
just
looking
siphoned
at him,
through them.
and
What
here
do you
comes
want? What do you
radar. Just,
want?
I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah. So that will be my nice act that I've seen.
That was nice for somebody. It
Yeah.
was nice for the kid. It was just very
Yeah.
surprising on my end. I was like, wait a
Uh,
minute, what's happening right now?
yeah, yeah.
And then of course
Yeah, you're not going to be the Grouch. You're not going to be the
yeah,
Grinch here.
radar's
You're
like,
going
oh, which one do you like? I'm like, please don't pick the $20 card. Please don't pick the $20
yeah,
card.
pick the $4 one right there, please, please, please.
That was very
Um,
funny.
yeah, so that was probably the most recent nicest thing I've seen.
Yeah.
You see a lot of nice stuff, especially when you're at shows with people giving stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of, like what Coop does and stuff like that. It's you see a lot of that now, which is nice. Yeah, I feel like there is a lot of negativity in the hobby, like just organically.
Yeah.
Like a lot of bickering and a lot of emotion and a lot of just negativity in general.
Yeah.
That
Hot
yeah,
take?
it's everywhere. So my hot take yesterday was going to be what Mason said with how grading companies are a scam, being that that's a lot of what I do. They're an absolute scam. Um, be it that I have personal collection graded cards. So I kind of feed into that scam. But I'd say that people think that vending and people overvalue vending and how much money they're making for sure.
Especially if they're claiming all of it.
Yes.
Which most of them probably don't, but if they're claiming all of it, yeah, I mean, they're
right.
definitely. Yeah.
Which is why I said earlier, people, when we were talking about that eBay, talking about the 13% eBay fees, it's like people undervalue eBay. People severely undervalue eBay's service and they overvalue selling in person.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I
insane.
think local shows you can do fairly well because tables are usually under $100 at a lot of the local shows around here. So you can get 2 tables for under $200. And usually, I would say I do usually at a local show between, if I'm just bringing slabs and singles, it's like 3 to 5,000 maybe. Most of the time with $150 for 2 tables or something like that. So it
Yeah.
ends up being pretty okay. But yeah, when you're flying out to collecticons, you're lugging all your shit around. You might sell. We already did the math earlier, but you got to do like 15,000
Yeah,
to
just that 10% fees,
yeah
that $1,500 cost, you need to sell $15,000. It's realistically a little less or more. But yeah, you got to do 15K and you have to have a decent inventory to do 15K in sales at a collecticon. I mean, there are a lot of people that can do it, but you go up to some of these tables, it's like there's no way that you're doing $15,000 in sales unless you already just got bought out. Like I'm looking at your
yeah
cases, like you don't even have 15K in value here. So if you did $5,000 in sales and you spent $1,500 or you spent $1,000, you just effectively paid a 20% fee to sell all your cards if you sold them all at 100% of market, which you probably didn't. You probably took 80% here when somebody bought 10 slabs, $20 slabs that you had marked at 25. Like,
yeah.
yeah, you're really not making as much as you think. And then you're valuing your time at $0 per hour at that point.
Yeah, and what Benji says here, I've done this before where it's like they don't count table costs, flight costs, hotels costs. I'm like, oh, I'm going on vacation. So this
Right.
part is the vacation part, and the table cost is the actual like vending part. So this doesn't count toward, that percentage, and just like
Yeah.
push it away when really you're there because you're, to sell, even though you're also there on vacation. It all kind of still needs to be
Yeah.
figured out
I've
from a business perspective.
I've never been able to disconnect any cost for the most part, like general cost like flight or table cost. Like that's always in the back of my head. Every time I've ever done a show, I've always been like, okay, I'm at X amount roughly. Like it cost me this much to get here, or I could have sat on my butt at home and sold this stuff on eBay over the next 3 weeks and net the same amount of money and been able to do whatever I wanted with that weekend or, um, yeah, I value my time too much to not think like that. But again, it is fun. Like this weekend, roughly spent $1,000 without even getting there yet. I'm not even really thinking of that when I'm gonna be in the con, because
Yeah.
it's like I'm there for a good time. Like I'm having fun.
Yeah.
So it's a different beast. Vending can be tiring.
Oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
halfway through the second day of vending, you're like, ah, just shoot me now. I want to go home.
Especially if it's slow.
Yeah,
But this time,
exactly.
halfway through Sunday, if we get bored, we can just go next door to the other convention that's happening.
Listen. We'll leave that there.
All right, let's see. Another question from Hoodoo. How long do you think you could operate at the pace you are? Is there room for more even with your full-time job? So, do you
I could
think
do a lot more, but
yeah.
I'm just too lazy. Too lazy, and I ultimately like the cards. So like I don't mind sitting on a lot of cards, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I could do more as well. I think.
Yeah. I think we could
Before
all
having to
do
go for more.
more. I think objectively everybody can say that they can do more. It's whether or not the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
I think I could squeeze a lot more juice out of the business, but I don't know. Some weeks you go hard, and so or some months you go hard, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna see what I can do here, and then you know wrenches get thrown at you with the market doubling, and I honestly do think my business is probably in a way different spot if English didn't objectively double in the last 6 to 8 months. Like
Yeah.
the way I was operating was like just mass buying alt arts, and it worked out really well when I had three or four of every alt art in a 10 at all times and just kind of cycling through them. But when everything, when you can buy a Sylveon VMAX alt art for $100 and then it goes up to $350 within a year time frame, it's really nice when you make those first sales with that inflated price. But
Yeah.
it really does suck when you can't get past that mental block.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
We're almost through all of Hoodoot's questions. This might be the last one, actually. What is something you would tell your younger self, knowing what you know now? What would you have done different? Your younger self. So does that mean like not Pokemon, just like any life advice for your younger self? I guess you could do, let's say, your younger Pokemon business self or your younger self in general. One of the two, wherever you want to go with that question.
Well, I mean that's a pretty deep question in general. I'll keep it to business, the Pokemon stuff. I guess it would just be getting over that hurdle of like scaling and buying more. Like instead of buying 3 of this card, why not buy 30 of this card? Especially once you've done it 10 times with that same card, buying it 3 times, why aren't you buying 30 of that card and just, you know, grading 14 copies and instead of 2 when you buy 3, like just
Yeah.
scaling. I'm just a risk averse person, so maybe hearing it from myself, my older self at that point would have allowed me to do it, but it was something, like especially if you're doing this as a business, you probably have like the understanding of what you need to do. It's just of actually doing it. I think everybody like okay, if I put all of this money to work, like if I'm not using 20% of my business funds, yeah, I can probably double my business.
Yeah.
But you didn't, and you are this year, but like things happen and it's kind of getting over those hurdles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just tell myself to dive in a little bit more, but it's easier said than done.
Something I would tell my younger self. I would tell my younger self after the first year of trying streaming on Twitch, I would have told my younger self to quit instead of going 4 more years of wasting like every evening for about 5 years streaming on Twitch, playing video games to like 20 people.
What were you playing for the most part?
Anything. I was a variety person, so I would play a lot of the new games. I would play vintage games. I would just play a whole bunch of different stuff. But after that first year, if I wasn't seeing some kind of like some sort of financial success, I would have told myself, cut it off, man. Cut it off. It is not worth the amount of time you're putting into it. So yeah, I would have definitely done that. In terms of like, I would probably tell myself to say yes more. If I was just saying like general life advice, like coming out of high school, I would have tried to just tell myself like say yes more. Like don't like I'm definitely like a no person. Like if it's not planned a day in advance, I'm like I'm not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely one of those people, but I
Same
feel like
here.
I've gotten better with that, especially being around like the friends and stuff. I've done a lot of stuff with the Pokemon people like at conventions that I would never do here. Um, that I just wouldn't. I'd be like, you know what? I can make more money if I sit at my computer. I can chill under my, blanket with my cat and watch a movie. Why do I want to go, play trivia at the bar or something like that? There's things that I would just completely skip. But what I would say, like, say yes more, become more of a yes person instead of a no person, because you'd have more experiences.
Yeah, I've been that person my whole life too, for the most part. More of a homebody, like got to get dragged out by friends to go do stuff. Kind of the expected to say no, and if he says yes type of person. Like it's like, holy crap, we got him out of the house type of guy. But yeah, saying yes kind of stems to like me kind of getting out of my shell, I guess you could say, with the whole Pokemon thing. Like I've been in the space for a long time. I've been following everybody for a very long time, and I've just always been a lurker. I'm not really like a social media person. I'm not really like a commenter. I don't like video. Like I like your guys' videos now, but like I would watch everybody's videos like front to back, and I just never was like a person that like, oh, I'm gonna leave a like. Like I've never really interacted with that stuff. So maybe I would say, like you said, just being a yes person and opening up more a little bit on the social side of the Pokemon stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword at a certain point too, because if you say no long enough, then when you finally do say yes, then you're like the center of the attention for the night, because you said yes. And now it's like, I hate being the center of attention as well. So it's like, I don't, don't like, I'm coming out with you, but please, like, stop checking up on me, making sure I'm okay, like all this stuff. It's fine. I'm here. Like, that's the point. Yeah. So
yep, same here.
Let's see. Grimer has one. How do you fuel your body and mind to fly in, hit a show, con, fly out on the same day?
No thinking. Turn brain off.
Yeah, exactly.
No
coffee,
thinking.
Lots of caffeine.
Yeah.
I did it once. I did it once. I won't do it again. Probably.
I like drain myself pretty much for those days, especially when I don't have like anybody else. Like if I'm really just going in with like a focus, like I'm going in, I'm buying as many cards as I can. Because when I do those things, like I'm, as much as I'd like to go hang out with everybody, like go see, go eat lunch, go see everybody I can at all the tables that I know are vending. It's like I kind of avoid it because
Uh-oh. You're robotic. We lost him, chat. Still robotic. I don't know if you can still hear me or not. Here, what if I remove him and I bring him back? Kind of. We got progress. He's speaking Dan right now. True. That's pretty good. We got black screen now. Oh no. All right. Well, maybe if he closes out and comes back.
Can you see me?
You're blurry. You're like 144p. I can't hear you anymore either. I'm not sure if you're talking or not. No. Oh, hold on. Okay, let me kick this one. I gotta kick this spat. I'll bring this spat up. We're back. Okay. Oof.
Nice.
Saved.
I don't know what happened there.
I don't know either.
My internet's typically good.
Let's see.
I don't remember what I was saying.
No, you're good. We'll go to the next one. Java has high expectations for our chat, Grimer. I do. I have very high expectations for Thursday night, so you better bring the heat. Do you listen to Rob Deerdeck's podcast? I do not.
No, but now I guess I have to. I trust anything Hive Mind says. That guy is a savant.
Buy anything weird or random lately?
In the Pokemon space, no. Not that I can think of. Weird or random? No.
I bought a case of each of the Attack on Titan sets that came out for Universus because
See,
I
that's
like
just
Attack on
foreign to me.
Titan and
What have I bought recently?
I thought it would be fun to rip because they were only like $50 a box. So I bought a
Yeah.
couple of cases. And the cool thing about those
Yeah.
that I like opposed to
This.
oh yeah, the MetaZoo.
I
Yeah.
think that's probably the weird or random thing, most weird or random thing I've bought in a while.
Yeah, I got one of those too. They're pretty
Yeah.
cool. I didn't open them.
No, not going to open mine either.
Not going to. Yeah.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, I like the Universus Attack on Titan sets because they're anime panels or not they're manga panels. They're not from the anime. So it's more hand drawn, stylistic. They're pretty cool. All right. Not sure if you've thought about this much yet, but how do you both plan to navigate Japanese sourcing with the introduction of tariffs, if at all? I don't know how long they're actually going to be in place. I don't know if they'll get negotiated to a point where they go away. I don't know if I haven't been buying anything right now, just kind of waiting it out and seeing what happens. I have seen multiple people in Discord now post that they got hit with the 10% on a package coming in. So I'm not buying anything currently. I have been in kind of a lull waiting for stuff to come back from PSA. But once that stuff is back and I'm selling stuff and I'm getting capital again, then potentially I will be looking at buying, but it'll depend on whether or not all of this stuff is still in place. But
yeah, I'm gonna look it up now. I have 2 buy packages heading my way that are in the States. They're in Cincinnati right now, and they've taken longer than ever before to get in. Typically I would have something in 3 days, like max, and it's been 3 days and it's still in Cincinnati. Being in Jersey, it's a little odd. I'm gonna get whacked with that 10% tariff and then probably the 24% one on top of that. So
hopefully not that,
that's
but
yeah, it's probably gonna whack me on both sides. So that'll be tough because they're over the $800 threshold. But yeah, just navigating that would be limiting it to lower end Japanese products and just bringing in less than 800 a day. That's
yeah.
the only way that you can get around it if you wanted to is, bulk buy and keep it cheap.
Yeah. So this comment came when we talked about what there should be more of in the hobby. This was really interesting to me. So I have 30 chats, and maybe this potentially is a me problem, okay? Because I know that there are creators that are girls that make content in the space, but they're not really, in our group. We don't have a lot of female representation in our vending group and group. Um, I think I have one chat with Thrifty.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's all dudes. And yeah, it would be cool if there was more female representation in our space that I feel like we talked to more or interacted with more with content and all sorts of stuff like that. And maybe that's just a blind spot for all of us. Maybe we need to reach out to more. I don't know.
Like even at the last con in Miami, for some reason, just thinking about that, there was I don't know if you were with me at that table. I think you may have been. We were looking through some binders and one girl came up, excuse me, and said, can I get this card? And the guy was immediately like, yeah. But after she bought the card and she was with her boyfriend, after she had bought the card and left, he said to me, like, that was the weirdest interaction I've ever had. I was like, why? He was like, because that's usually like the dude is doing that and the girl's being dragged throughout the show. Like, she doesn't want to be there. But
Yeah.
it is a weird, like, yeah, maybe it is just a miss on our end, or
I don't
I don't
know.
know. I don't know.
Yeah.
There definitely are a lot of girls that are into Pokemon and in the hobby, but
there's quite a
maybe
few
they're
live
not.
streamers I feel like too, like Rip and Chippers
Yeah,
and live streamers and stuff that are ladies as well. But yeah, I feel
maybe
like
they're just not putting themselves in our little circles.
yeah, I feel like there's just not as many. You have I'm just trying to think of the ones that make content. It's like you had Ava that made content for a while, Ava's Binder. You have Chloe, obviously, is like the big one. You had Frosted Caribou for a while. She now, I think she might still make content, but she does the casting and stuff for the different TCG events. I feel like I can count on like one hand, and
Right.
maybe that's maybe that's my problem. Maybe I just don't.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for it as much.
Yeah. I can't
So,
speak to anything, so that beats me. We're close to them.
let's see. Java crying inside when Radar rips a Zard out of that stack. No, it was a Mew V Max that I think I bought for like $9, maybe $7, something like that. It wasn't crazy, but the kid was very
Could have been
happy.
worse.
So
Could have been worse.
there were a couple cards in there that I was, could have been worse for sure. I was like, please don't. It was good though.
I don't know if I've never met or even seen Frosted Caribou. That's like a completely foreign name to me.
Yeah, she was a source of controversy a few years ago. I don't know if she was the source of controversy. She was in some controversy a few years ago with Gary King Pokemon, and then she kind of got dogpiled by a lot of people. But now she does the casting for the TCG tournaments, like the big ones, like Worlds and stuff. I think she's part of the casting team for that. Cornell, how's it going? Welcome. Can you make money selling nines? Vintage, you probably can. I think in terms of modern, no.
You got to get lucky with timing.
Yeah.
I've sold plenty of nines for profits, but it's just timing.
Yeah, there's times where you buy a card that you're going to make, 30% on a 10 maybe, and then all of a sudden the market shifts and you're making 30% on a 9. That's happened before, but it's not something you can really calculate. But yeah, it's I would never shoot for 9s unless I was shooting for like high-end vintage trying to get 9s.
And
modern,
really,
I wouldn't.
We might get into a spot where 9s could have a little bit more value with I think 9 value correlates heavily with turnaround times.
Could, yeah.
Like, PSA literally just dropped something, I guess it was yesterday or today, saying that they're increasing their price, another $1, and then their turnaround time is just $2, sorry.
Yeah.
And then is an extra 20 business days, technically. I mean, it's probably been that way for a couple months now. They just haven't really bumped up the actual number, but you're looking at 4 or 5 months now to get back bulk. People get impatient, and prices typically go up on 9s when turnaround times go up. So it's just that, but that's also just timing. Like, that's nothing that you can control to really make 9s on modern.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You can make money on 8s, 7s, 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s, 2s, and 1s. I've made money on a lot of 1s. You're not going to your margin's not going to be 150, 200, 300%. You're going to be making honestly, on a 1, if you can make a 50% margin, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Grading a base set Charizard. If you can find a base set Charizard for $100 in any condition, just buy it and grade it at this point, because it's in a 1. I'm thinking it's $200 right now. So it's okay, that's like a free $40 after fees if you can just find that Charizard, because it's zero risk.
The 1s are so that whole side of collecting is so weird to me.
Yeah, it's zero risk.
Yeah, I don't know how much I love the idea of taking a card, damaging it further to try and get a 1. That's
Oh my gosh.
It's an interesting thing.
Last sale, I've done it plenty of times, so I'm
Yeah.
that jerk that does that. Last sale, one literally sold today for $300, a PSA 1 base set Charizard.
Jeez.
It was 150 like a year ago.
Can't they reject it if it's mega trash though? Yes, I believe they can, but I think that's more of like if it's missing corners or like stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think if it still has 4 sides and 4 corners, like you're for the most part good.
It can be. I know I have a PSA 1 back there that you'd be like, how did they not reject that? Yeah, you can get past some really, really, really rough cards. I've had a few rejected, and every time they've been rejected, it's me just being an idiot and not seeing some writing on the back or something. Like if I'm buying a card for a PSA 1 play, I'm probably not inspecting it as much as I am for a PSA 10. So like you miss like maybe a kid had some pen on the bottom right of the card and wrote their name. I've had that happen, and then it's marked, and then they're like, okay, well, this card's trashed and marked. I'm not slapping that. So I have had that happen, but I've had some really, really rough cards.
Would you be in the hobby if the business aspect never came in? So if you weren't doing business in the hobby, would you still be collecting Pokemon?
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
Would you be a collector or a player?
Yeah, I would just be. Yeah, it would be much. I would not be buying nearly as much, obviously. But yeah, I would definitely be in it. I mean, I was buying cards when I was broke, like in college and in high school. Like I was always like looking at TCG Player. I remember the first card I bought back when I was kind of getting back into it in high school. I guess like 10 years ago at this point now was a Magerna. I don't even know how you say that. Magerna EX full art from I think it was Steam Siege. I got it for like $3, and it was just because there was like TCG Player was running in a sale. It was like if you spend, it's like a 50% off sale or something like that, or a free $5 voucher or something, and it was like the best card I could get for with that voucher. But I've always loved cards. I used to always go, and I was always that guy since I was again broke. I'd go to Dollar Trees and Dollar Generals and look for all the dollar packs to kind of optimize like my pack cost to open ratio.
Yeah.
If I can spend $1 to open a pack and get a similar experience to spending $4 a pack, I'd rather open $1 packs than I would one $4 pack.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would always be in it. I would be very optimized for sure. I would only be buying, I would not be ripping packs. That's a whole nother thing. But yeah, just not as much.
I think it would have potentially taken more to get me back in than it did, because I think a lot of people got into it in 2020 because the value, the nostalgia with the value. If it was just nostalgia in 2020 and people were still that hype about it, potentially I probably would have still gotten in, but I don't know if that hype would have been there if the value hadn't changed. I don't know if people would have cared as much at the time, like all the content creators and stuff I was watching at the time. I'm not sure if they would have cared as much if the value wasn't there. But I'm glad that I am in it, and I do love Pokemon. Like I've played every single video game. I guess I'm more into the video game side of things, or have been.
Yeah.
I've never missed a video game release for Pokemon. I've played them all, and I did obviously hop out in cards, but I've always been a fan of Pokemon.
Same. Yeah, games are pretty much where I came up in.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you think Pokemon? Oh, nice. Fire Red.
It's a clean copy too.
Hell yeah.
Clean copy.
Sick. It's one of my it's a better version of Red. I do like OG Red for the nostalgia, but Fire Red is like the perfect remake for the originals. It's so good. But yeah, do you think Pokemon has affected your life in other ways than just money?
Uh, that's deep, dude. Yeah. I'd say it's been a nice disconnect from almost like the real world, you know? Like I can just sink my teeth into Pokemon stuff for a couple hours and kind of just get lost. So, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been pretty outward about this in the past, but like I let's see, I finished college doing education from home. I both of my jobs so far for the last 7 years have all been from home. So not a lot of opportunity to meet people. I've moved a lot in my life. I've moved from Wisconsin to Minnesota, or Minnesota to Wisconsin, to Illinois, down here to North Carolina, at different, stages of life, different education stages and stuff. And so I haven't really had a friend group that stayed consistent the entire time. And then once it got to, okay, I'm doing everything from home, I didn't really have a friend group at all. So getting into Pokemon and making content and then finding this friend group has provided me with obviously a friend group and people that are kind of my friends, because a lot of times my brother is a lot more outgoing. He kind of generated the friend group, and then I was the little brother that kind of tagged along. And so when that wasn't there, I just really didn't have much for friends or friend group. So that, Pokemon has provided me that. Meeting everybody and getting into this space has provided me new opportunities to make friends and hang out with people. So
For sure.
um talk about a high point in Pokemon and a low point.
I can start this. About at this point it would probably be a year ago today. I lost about $8,000 worth of slabs on my way to vending a local show with Beerski, actually. It
Oh
was
shoot.
so little backstory there
Blame Bierski.
if you wanna hear. He had nothing to do with it. So kind of stemming on to like I don't really I'm more of a homebody. I was convinced by friends to go out in Philly and you know, have a good time. So I'm thinking, okay, well I got the show on Saturday. It's Friday night. I probably shouldn't do it, but I said screw it. I'm gonna do it. So my buddy living in Philly, I loaded my car up and drive over there. So I have all of my stuff for the show. I'm figuring, okay, just gonna be a rough morning. I'm gonna leave early and get to the show. So when I get to my buddy's house, I unload my car, and thinking I don't want to leave my car full of all of my inventory. I'd rather bring it into his apartment, which again he lives in like Center City, Philly, where so like it's all like condos and townhomes. So you're parking on a street, like a busy street. Don't want to leave my stuff in the car. Bring it inside. I guess at some point I left one of my little like Zion cases and put it on the ground to grab something else in my car, and I left it on the ground. It's the only thing I can possibly think of. I left it on the ground, and somebody must have just scored on it. But yeah, so brought everything inside. Didn't think to like we were all in a rush. I'm like we're going to get dinner. Um, Not thinking of counting like okay, is everything inside? It could have been gone 3 minutes later, 2 minutes later, it could have been 30 minutes. I don't know. There was no cameras in the area or anything like that, but it was all gone. So, um, pretty much had $8,000 worth of slabs stolen from me, which was old, like incredibly. It was brutal. I don't I don't know how I even really came back from it. It was pretty dark for a little bit there. I mean,
Yeah.
luckily I had two Zion cases, and it was the one that didn't have anything that really meant like anything to me, as weird as that sounds. Like it was all just like money slabs, like that was it to me. But I had some slabs in my other Zion case that like a couple were my brother's that had just gotten graded for him, a couple were mine that like I had pulled I have one card that I'll never get rid of, the Charizard from Hidden Fates. It was in there because I pulled it when I was opening packs when I was broke. Like, um, I would have been like sick to my stomach, like as if I wasn't already. It would have been just the cherry on top if I had lost that case, and it was more money in general. So it would have just been like the cherry on top. But um, that was the lowest point I've ever had, like probably in my life. Like when you just get $8,000 like
Yeah.
ripped from you just in general, it sucks. But connecting it to Pokemon, it was I took 3 months off and went right into Jersey Collecticon as like my like reboot last year. So I think it was from pretty much April to July. I just hard stop, didn't touch a thing, turned my eBay off, paid off everything I needed to do, and completely disconnected because I had to. It was like a mental thing. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, I can't even look at these cards without thinking about how much I just got taken from me. You build your whole business up and have
Yeah.
a big chunk of it taken from you. It was brutal. I had to call Bierski that day. It was again, I'm talking about it for a while now, but it was the first time I was gonna go vend with Bierski. And I was all excited, like, oh, let's go, like getting out of my shell, like gonna be pretty much sitting down with Bierski for 8 hours today. Like this is gonna be great, kind of like open up a bit and start a friendship. And gave him a call at like 9 a.m. I must have sounded frantic on the phone. I was like, yo, dude, like not gonna be there. Just had $8,000 of slab stolen from me.
Yeah.
See ya. Talk to you when I talk to you.
That's
Uh,
crazy.
s- so not to get it, not to be a Debbie Downer, but that was the low point. So you can blame Benji for that little rant there.
Yeah. What the hell?
Brutal. It was brutal.
No. I'm trying to think of a low point. I mean, luckily I obviously I've been scammed of money before, but I don't get like I mean, not to that degree. That's that's an amount that I would get really frustrated over. I don't think so. I mean nothing. I don't know. I mean being scammed by E, I guess, but
Yeah, it always
it's like
sucks.
it's really not that big a
You kind of
deal.
go into it kind of expecting that could happen.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of more like, did I have any bad experiences with people? Not really. Have I had any dust ups with anyone on YouTube? Not really. Have I ever been like dogpiled in a comment section? Not really. Have I ever had like drama? No. It's like, so unless it's, I guess, losing money, then yeah, I've done that.
Yeah, it
Not to that
happens.
degree, but I have done that too. Do you think the phrase "the hobby" is pretentious? I don't think so. I think people maybe read too far into it. I think people get weird about like the hobby or community. People for some reason get weird about that term too. I think they're totally fine things to say. I don't know why they have the the ick that people get from using them, but I think they're fine.
Yeah, I don't. I yeah, yeah, I'll leave it at that. I think what you said is pretty spot on.
Uh, why am I getting? I got my grandma sending me like crazy political things. I got my other grandma sending me burglar steals thousands of dollars in Pokemon cards from trading card shop. I don't know where this is. In Iowa. Man, people
Iowa.
blowing up my crap. Uh okay. What else do we have here?
It's like everybody's talking about getting scammed now.
Oh, yeah.
It
See
is
what you
an
did, Vent?
unfortunate part of the business.
Let's see. I know he put more questions down here. What's up, Boondock? Welcome.
Hello, hello.
I saw Thrifty as well earlier. Hello, Thrifty, if you're still here. What's up, Vitalik? Vitalik? What's up, Frisky Squid? Uh,
John saying he got scammed by Jason Page, but asked for it. That guy did get scammed. What a guy.
Most awkward interaction in the hobby.
Awkward.
I know. I know what
say it. Do it. Do it. What is it? I gotta hear it now.
It's not really that awkward. You know when you meet somebody and it's hard to know whether I feel like sometimes some people are so I don't know if stoic's the right word, or like they don't show a lot of emotion when you're meeting them. You shake their hand, they kind of give you a nod, and you're like, "Do you hate me?"
Yeah,
you can't really tell.
That's me. So if anybody ever sees me, that's me. Please don't. I just sit there. I'm just like that's like my demeanor. Like I don't really show a lot of emotion. I have a severe case of probably our resting bitch face.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of those where it's like, someone in the space or whatever, and you walk up and you're like, "Hey, I'm so and so," and you just get like a nod, and then like they just keep going. I've had a couple of those where it's like, wow, that was kind of awkward.
Yeah.
I mean, the most awkward scenario was I think I've talked about it either maybe privately. I think I mentioned it once on a live stream. So Squeaks, awesome person in the hobby, fantastic. I thought he hated me for like a year. And the reason why I thought he hated me was because we were both in a Pokeflips chat, and I had asked a question. And right after that question, Squeaks responded to what I thought he was responding to my question, saying something like, "You need to get a life, stop, you need to get a real job, something like this." And I was like, wow, that's kind of rude. Like, I've never interacted with Squeaks before, and he comes right out the gate with that. Like, that's crazy. And so, like a year later, Pokemon Wonder interviewed Squeaks on his channel, and the interview was awesome. Squeaks is a really great guy. So I posted on the comment section. I was like, had kind of a weird first interaction with Squeaks, but this interview was amazing, and I think Squeaks is a really cool dude. Squeaks DMs me and is like, "Hey, what's up with this? I don't remember ever being mean to you." And I was like, I explained the situation, and he goes back in the VOD for the Pokeflips thing. And on YouTube, if you guys don't know, when you block someone in chat on YouTube, you just won't see their comments at all. So their comments will be shown to other people, but you won't see their comments. So somebody had commented right after me that I had blocked already on YouTube, and then Squeaks was responding to them. So it looked like Squeaks was responding to me. So yeah, lo and behold, he wasn't actually being mean to me. Apparently, this guy was like a huge Squeaks hater when he was making content and stuff. So they had some sort of past with him being a troll, and yeah, so totally was not being mean to me at all. But I thought for a year that Squeaks absolutely hated me. But yeah, we're all good now. Squeaks and I are solid. So good stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, wild, kind of crazy situation.
I'd say, yeah, being like awkward interactions kind of just happen when you first meet people.
Yeah.
Like, especially with how we interact with like Discord, like Pullfather saying it's funny not knowing like everyone's real name and only by their Discord name or business name. It's like, it is a weird thing. Like, "Oh, what's up, Grimer?" Like, it is kind of weird because I'm calling you Grimer. Like, if you really think about it, like, I'm calling you a purple sludge trash Pokemon. Like,
yeah. The weekend that we went, I had family like, "Oh, who are you meeting up with?" I was like, "Spat," and they're like, "Who?" I'm like, "Well, his username is Spat. I'm not really sure what his first name is," and I figured it out later that weekend. But it's like some people like, I don't know their first name. I don't know Grimer's first name. I don't know it. I'm not sure. I don't know Pullfather's first name. All I know is like usernames. So when I'm talking to people in my family and they're like, "Oh, who you meeting up with this weekend?" It's like, Beerski?
Yeah.
It's
funny. It's that's like a weird, awkward one. It's like you go and like introduce yourself, like, "Oh, my name's Spat." It's like, what did you just say? So that I feel is awkward in
Yeah.
itself.
And then
And then
when
just
you
meeting
do know
people.
the first name, it's like, well, do I call Spat Spat or do I call him his first name? Now that we are
Yeah.
like know each other's first names, it's like, wait,
Yeah.
what do I call Biersky Kevin or can I just say Biersky? Is it
Yeah.
weird now or
Yeah. It's funny
yeah?
because like some people like for some reason I've gotten into the habit of calling Hive Mind John
Mhm.
and who for some reason I feel like more than anybody is called by his first name Benji.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like I guess some people like you get acclimated into calling them their first names. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it is a weird, like awkward, like you kind of have to figure out like what you're gonna say. And again, if you're in public in a collecticon, it's not like a weird thing being like, oh, what's up, Java, or what's up,
Yeah.
you know, Chef or Grimer or anybody in the chat. But when you're in like a bar, you're like, oh, Beerski or
Yeah.
Grimer, like
It's
you
just
get
imagine
like
people
you
like
get like the
listening like,
yeah, you're like
what?
what did that guy just call that
Did he
guy?
just say a Pokemon name?
Yeah, like I know that, and he doesn't
Yeah.
look like a Grimer. He looks like a human.
Oh
Yeah,
man. Pokey Kid,
yeah.
how's it going? Uh yeah, so my stepbrother lives and goes to school in Chicago and he goes to a decent neighborhood, but he had a dash cam. He has a Tesla, so he has that like dash cam footage all
The
the way around.
360 camera,
And there was a shooting that happened that involved his car. So he got the whole like shooting on camera and like
yeah.
sent the
Damn.
footage to us. And it was like, holy shit. Like this is yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, I was looking at this and my sister texted me someone's car got robbed for 20K Pokemon. She thought it was me. Yeah. That's the crime in the hobby is definitely the worst part. I mean, we just had Mason on, card shop owner, yesterday, Cardinal Gaming, talk about how he in 1 month, in the period of 1 month, he was robbed at gunpoint twice in 1 month. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
It stinks, but it's the game you play. That's another downside of having a store is people know exactly where your inventory is. We got people in, Discord and stuff worried about getting doxxed. It's like when, Mason's got a target on his back. You can
Yeah.
look up Cardinal Gaming and I can figure out exactly where Mason is. So please, nobody do that.
Yeah.
Please. But like that's unfortunately the way that it works.
I was not here to witness this. We went to a Mexican restaurant, but apparently the dinner last Chicago was awkward.
Oh,
And
yes, yeah.
Hive
I
Mind
remember that.
said, so happy I got to witness the last Capital Grill dinner for the group.
I do remember hearing stories. I was not there, but
Yes.
the dinner that we had was great.
Yeah, that Mexican place was awesome.
That was great. But I do remember hearing Capitol Grill was a
Bit
little
rough.
awkward.
Bit rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, guys, I think we are coming up on it. We got a little bit more time left if anyone has any questions, but we can wrap it up here. Spat, I know you didn't really have much for shout outs earlier, but if you want to shout out anything before we hop off, feel free to do so.
I'm good. I don't have anything.
Any plans for sourcing going into Chicago, or are you just flying by the seat of your pants again?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing really planned. I'm just excited to go and have a good time with everybody.
Did I
That's
skip
what I'm
one?
most excited about.
I skipped one apparently. Oh, best memory in the hobby. Oh, we can end on a positive note.
There we go. Best memory in the hobby. See, the problem is like, I guess it's how you're defining memory. Like, are we talking within like the space with like Pokemon people, or are we talking like just in general with Pokemon? Mine would be
Anything?
pulling pulled this guy, graded it myself.
There you go.
From a pack
yeah.
in 2019 from a Black Friday tin. That's my go-to story. That's my best memory. I was broke, spent like probably 20% of my bank account, and that was like my net worth at the time on Black Friday, hitting Fates tins and pulled that guy. So
Hell
that
yeah.
was awesome. I'll never forget that. But other than that, I don't have much else to really.
I guess I probably have two. I would say the first Charlotte that everyone kind of got together and hung out at the little bar there. And we had like 20 people packed into the back of the bar, and we were just hanging out, and everyone was there just drinking and having fun and chatting and doing all that stuff. That was super, like, kind of the first time that I met a whole lot of people and was integrated into that group kind of that weekend. And then Rusty's. I mean, it's tough to beat being around his stuff with all, awesome people and having that experience. Rusty's was definitely that whole weekend. Maybe I should just change it. That whole weekend.
Yeah.
Chef cooking for us at Wonders on Sunday. That was an amazing day. And then on top of that, being able to go to Rusty's, even with the car breaking down the day before, that whole weekend last year was incredible. And I'm hoping that this year will be similar. So should be cool. It was awesome.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. Hopefully the next time I get asked that question will be this upcoming weekend.
Yeah.
I'm very, very excited.
All right, guys. Well, I appreciate all the questions this time. You guys in chat definitely, I mean, Hoodoo definitely carried this one, but
yeah,
it was
Benji, you're the man.
It was fantastic to have all the questions to go off of, because I didn't have a whole lot prepared for Spat. It was just going to be like a back and forth, like chilling, talking about last weekend and this weekend. And so I'm glad that you guys came prepared with so many questions. I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. If you chill out here and you don't want to go anywhere, it should push you immediately into Dan's live. He should be live right now. It should just move you over there. Otherwise, you can watch everything back tomorrow morning. Hit the like button before you leave, you fools. Do it now. And I really appreciate it, guys. All right. Tomorrow, we are going to be chatting with Skya, that one guy.
Sky is a goat. We got to listen to that one.
Backbone of the Catch 'em All Collectibles operation. So we'll be talking to him. And then we'll be in Chicago on Thursday night talking to Grimer, probably like 10 or 10:30 p.m. for probably an hour or so.
Maybe I'll be in the background of that one.
Yeah, you'll probably be there. Bierski will probably be there. That'll be a fun one, live from the Airbnb. That'll be solid. So thank you guys again, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.